This is beautiful. What is that, velvet?
Peace and love is the key.
You are now about to experience the J&J-Life podcast with your host, Reya'Sekhmet.
But my name combines Rhea, which means a connection to Ra.
J&J-Life podcast,
Please smash that like button. Peace and love is Vicky.
Hotep and Aakhu'Ra family. I'm Reya'Sekhmet, also known as Reya'Sekhmet. Thank you for tuning to the J&J-Life podcast where truth is currency and confusion gets no airtime. And family, don't let my age fool you. Today isn't playtime. This is nation time. These mics are Ankh. This platform is our temple. Family, we're sitting with a giant today who walked through fire to remind us who we are. He is another one of our truth tellers, a warrior, a scholar, author, family man, and master teacher.
Definitely.
This conversation is for warriors, for builders, for those ready to stand tall in their names. And peace to Baba MLM Baruti, Baba MQMZ, Baba Takaka Majao, and Baba Olatunji and Wamba. I speak for those erased. I speak for the son and daughters buried. I speak for memories stolen. So family, our guest today is more than just a scholar. He is a living institution. His authorship, his language, his sacred labor. This is nation business. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Baba Shakari to the show. Peace, Baba. How are you doing on this fantastic day?
I'm doing great. My princess and my dear brother. I'm doing just fine. And especially having the opportunity to share some information with our people. We have so many problems, but all of them can be solved. Okay, so we need to be clear about that. Even as we go through some of this rough terrain that we're getting ready to traverse here, don't ever get it in. None of us should ever get it in our minds that these horrible problems that we have are unsolvable. They are solvable. Okay, now are they going to be a piece of cake? Absolutely not. We're too deep into trouble as a people globally for this to be a cakewalk for us. All we have to do is just learn a couple of things and get certain truths up under our belt, and then our problems will be solved and we'll all just live happily ever after. That is fantasy. It's not going to happen like that. You and I have some serious work to do as a people, and I underscore that all of the time. This is a people problem that we're confronted with. Yes, there are things that all of us are going to have to do individually. There's no question about that. But be clear that our problems are people-based problems. These are things that we're going to have to approach collectively if we are to get out of the death trap that we're in as a people, you know.
Ashe.
And Baba Sar, how's it going for you?
Dua, Reya'Sekhmet, and thanks for asking. All is well. And family, as we always do, I want to give reverence to the ancestors and the elders for all they have done and are doing. And I do want to say, Baba Shakari, and that is, we here on the J&J-Life podcast take the position of students today. So, Baba, when you speak, we listen, not for entertainment, but for instruction. So buckle up, family. We honor the principles of Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, harmony, order and arrangement, reciprocity, and righteousness. And this conversation is for those who study deeply, remember fiercely, and build without apology.
Well, Ashe. The conscious lock strikes again.
Ashe.
Okay, let's begin. Baba, too, before we go any further, with you being the elder in the room, may I have permission to speak?
Absolutely.
Ashe. So, Baba, there's many directions we can go in for our discussion today, as your resume is beyond deep. So, I believe a great place to start will be the beginning. Will you share with the family your background, like where you were born or grew up, education, and how you and led us into how you ultimately became the person you are today, and what made you want to do this work for our people?
Okay. Well, I was born here in the, as they say, in the hells of North America, unfortunately. And I was born in 1952. So I'm in my 70s now. Been around a long time, seen quite a bit of stuff. My journey actually began, like I say, here in America. I was born in the state of Illinois, in the city of Chicago, on the South Side. And coming up, I recognized and witnessed a lot of things. But being a youngster, it really didn't catch on with me until I got a little older. I think I really started seeing some problems when I was about, I would say about 5 years old. Truly, about 5 years old is when I really started seeing some problems. I didn't know what I was seeing and know the implications of it, but I just noticed some problems. When I started going to public school, um, I started noticing some problems even there, you know. Even though the school that I was going to was basically an all-black school, I still noticed that the education that we were receiving was really not quite adequate for bettering our condition as a people. As I started going through grammar school, you know, we had at that time we had a few black teachers, even though we lived in a black neighborhood and all of that. We had a few black teachers, but a great deal of our teachers were white. But moving forward, my childhood was basically I would say average. I would say average for black children at the time. I came up in the 50s. Like I said, I was born in 52. So I came up in the 50s and the 60s. Okay. During that time frame, I had many of the problems that is so prevalent in the black community today. Even though it wasn't as pronounced then as it is today, those problems still existed. You had a lot of black families that were absent of a father in the home, you know, and I happened to fall into that category for a time period during my youth. My mom and my baba, they ended up splitting and leaving her with three of us, the three children, and she had to tough it out, just as a mother. She ultimately went on to find a husband, which was my stepfather, and that kind of balanced things out. But the social condition of our people was always a front and center. You could always see a lot of the problems in the neighborhood, a lot of things that were, a lot of things that we didn't have as a people. But when we did get a chance to see what was going on in the larger society on television, we could see the glaring difference between how whites were living versus how we were living, you know. So, as I got older and older and, went on and graduated from grammar school and went into high school, it was in and around the time of 1965 during the Watts riots. And I consider that the time period at which I really, really came into some serious consciousness. Because as I was looking at television at the time of the Watts riots, I noticed how African people were just being brutalized right there on television, right there on television. And I wrote a poem, and this is I'm 13 years old now, but I wrote a poem. It was called Unity. You know, I just sat down looking at the television, right there in front of the television. I just got me a pen, a piece of paper, and I was compelled to write this poem called Unity, you know. Uh, and I put it in my book, Revolutionary African Poems of Love and War. It was the first poem actually in that book. It doesn't appear in that book as the first poem, but it was indeed the first poem. I wrote that poem in August. Yeah, there it is. I wrote that poem in August of 1965. In and around right there during the time of the Watts riot. I had just made 13 years old. And after writing that poem, you know, and after seeing what was going on, it really put something on my mind. I really started thinking seriously at that point. I started thinking seriously about the condition of African people in the world, you know. And then fast forward about 3 years after that, 1968, that's when you had the Chicago riots.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Mayor Daley issued he was the mayor, European mayor at the time, he issued his shoot to kill order because there was a lot of rioting going on, a lot of shooting. That was because of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King in 1968. So it was a horrible time. It was a horrible time, but it was a very enlightening time because it was in and around that time that I truly became introduced to our liberation struggle and to our culture. Okay, 1968. And I was introduced to I came upon a place called the Black People's Topographical Research Center. It was an institution that was only a few blocks away from where I lived at. I lived on, right off of 71st and 71st and King Drive. It was 71st and 71st and King Drive at the time. And the Black People's Topographical Research Center was right on 75th and Champlain, which is a matter of blocks, walking distance from where we live. So we went up there. We had heard about this new Black library that opened up, and we thought it was just going to be books, Black books, because at that time, 68, people were doing a lot of reading, and there were naturals, and we were heading in a positive direction in terms of our Blackness and in terms of recapturing our culture. You started seeing African people take on African names, and the whole bit. We started wearing dashikis and throwing up hand fists, and the war in Vietnam was going on. So you had brothers who were coming back with military training and doing DAP and showing love and all of these things. So it seemed like things were really coming together for African people. And this is again in 1968. So I went up to the Black People's Topographical Research Center, and we went in, and like I said, I thought it was just going to be, like the name said, it was just going to be a library. We go in and look at some books and come out of there. But that was not the case. At the Black Library, they had some books there in the front part. But in the back part, they had an area where it was decked out, maps all over the wall. And they were talking about Black people and our condition in the world and the things that we needed to do. It was at that point that I first became conscious of the fact that Black people here in America and throughout the world are still slaves. Are still slaves. And, and at that time, because of my youth and all the rest of that, that was something that really didn't sit well with me. I just couldn't get with this idea that African people are still slaves, because I had learned that we achieved our freedom in 1865 with the Emancipation Proclamation and the 14th, 13th, and 14th Amendments and all the rest of that. So I just took the position that this can't be right. So I went and started doing, after I left the center and after they had taken us, what at that time they called it taking a tour. So they took us a tour around the center and they gave us information about what was going on in the African world, specifically what was going on with us here in America. And after I went there, this whole idea of African people still being slaves was very bothersome to me. Again, I could not accept it. So I decided to do some independent study on my own based on what they had taught us, and I said, well, wait a minute, we're still slaves. And they started breaking it down and revealing that, no people can be free who lives in a state of total dependence and vulnerability to other nations. No nation can be free who has to depend on other nations to give them permission to do whatever it is they have to do in life. No nation of people can be free who's surrounded by things in life that they neither own, control, nor produce.
Thanks.
And that hit hard and it hit home. So again, I went and did some research on my own. Again, I'm just 13 years old, but I got to go to a library or somewhere and look some of this stuff up. And no matter how deep I dug, I still came up with the same conclusion. African people are not free. We have simply been told by our enslavers that we're free.
Bamboozled.
Absolutely. But the reality is we're not free. We're still under foreign dominance all over the globe. And I'm not just talking about African people here in America. African people globally are under foreign dominance all over the planet. So as time went on and I got older and older, in fact, before I leave from the top, I, of course, after doing my own research and coming back, because I came back I'd say about three months later, because again, that hit me hard. But after acknowledging and coming to the conclusion that we are in fact slaves, I joined the Black People's Topographical Research Center and became a teacher up there. And that was my takeoff point. I had insight into our condition. They also taught about culture, and I was on the path. And I have never looked back since. Never looked back. Never turned back. And of course, as time went on and conditions changed, and my teacher at the Black People's Topographical Research Center, Dr. Karunama, C1, Dr. Babalawo Karunama, after his passing several years back now, I had been under his teaching for almost 50 years. But in the interim, I had established the African World Research Institute, because the Black People's Topographical Research Center went under back in 1972 is when it stopped functioning as an institution. I set up the Black People's Topographical, the African World Research Institute in 1988. And then we established that the building for the Institute, we established that in 1995, actually, is when it was established. And we opened our doors in May of 1996, and we've been open ever since. So we've been on the set. Our institution has been in existence for over 30 years now, and going and counting. At the same time, I put together a piece to deal with the Temple of Ankh, life science. And this is based on African spirituality, the teachings that our ancestors taught in ancient Kemet. So that kind of brings you up to where we are today.
Okay. Powerful, Baba, powerful.
Share. So Baba Shakari, it wasn't just history. It was a choice. You chose to remember. You chose to build. Like when my Nana Moot and Baba Rasa are teaching here at the Moot Institute for Ancestral Learning.
Mhm.
You all are not just teaching it, but being it. One day, I will graduate to a level of excellence. So I said, dua to you all.
Thank you.
You are
Dua.
too.
Dua.
Ashe. So, Baba Batu, I have one question with two parts. Okay, so as you mentioned, I just want to kind of veggie back off of some of the things that you were just saying. And, you know, as the director of the African World Research Center, you stood at the crossroads of scholarship and sovereignty, not just collecting data, but weaponizing memory for our survival.
Absolutely.
Will you share with the family a little more about the mission of the African World Research Institute and your vision of it 50 to 100 years from now? And lastly, speak to the family a little bit more about the Temple of Ankh. Is it a sanctuary, a site of initiation? What role does it play in restoring the metaphysical backbone of our people, especially in a time that that we know, especially in a time when mysticism is commodified, diluted, or dismissed?
Mm-hmm. Well, the African World Research Institute, our mission has been since its inception. It has been to rebuild our own modern and independent civilization and culture in the world. That has been our mission. We have got to rebuild the African world that has come under serious destruction globally. That is the mission of the African World Research Institute. In terms of the Temple of Ankh, its mission is to restore our spiritual teachings back to its rightful place of prominence within the minds and lives of African people globally. We say that our spiritual teachings need a serious rebuilding. We made some horrible, horrible mistakes as a people. Not only did we make some mistakes culturally and politically and economically and certainly militarily, we made some serious mistakes spiritually as well. And it's going to take us to do the serious work to straighten out these problems. And see, this is the reason why I wrote these books, because it is only by us doing the serious study that we're going to be able to get to the meat of the matter of what has to be done to straighten our situation out.
Right.
See, a lot of us, we want someone to give us the solution to our problems in 10 words or less, and then we just go on about our merry way. But no, our problems, again, are too deep. Our problems are too all-encompassing for us to think that we can just have, like this discussion here, that we can just have a discussion, say the stuff that need to be said, and then that's it. Oh, no. Oh, no. I have said this over and over again to many of the people that I speak with. I didn't write all of these books for me to just sit up and state everything that's in the book. No. I encourage our brothers and sisters, you need to get the literature that's out here and take your time and sit down with that information and reason with the information, and then be prepared to do the work to make those things materialize. Because, see, we're not going to get our freedom and independence just because we know this, that, or the other. I've said it before. Enemies, truly, and this is just true, enemies care very little about what their victims know. Let me say that again. And I mean that. I'm not just saying it figuratively. These are facts. Enemies care very very little about what their victims know. They
Say it
don't
one
care
more
if you and
time.
you enemies care little or nothing about what their victims know.
Facts.
Because enemies are clear that you get out of your circumstance and condition by what you do, not simply by what you know. You can know all of what you want to know. The question is, are you acting on what you know? Are you uniting and acting on what you know that's going to solve your problem? Okay? We have a mountain, and I say this all of the time. We have a mountain of liberation information available to us. I mean, literally a mountain. You can go all the way back into ancient Kemet and get some of the information that exists just from Kemet alone that is profoundly powerful and would be extremely beneficial to us liberating ourselves from foreign dominance. And when I say foreign dominance, I also have to include this. When I say foreign dominance, I'm not just talking about white folks. So get it out. We need to get it out our brain that the only enemies we have in the world are white people. Oh no. Arabs have taken a third of our continent in Africa. These are Arabs. They raped us, robbed us, murdered us, and kidnapped us just like Europeans.
Facts.
Jews have a history of enslaving African people before Europeans or Arabs enslaved us, and these are Jews. Then you have the Chinese. They're the newest kids on the block. It's 2 million Chinese on the ground in Africa right now today. And that number is steady rising. They're coming into Africa, buying up, taking up everything that they can get their hands on. They have no intention of leaving. None whatsoever. The majority of the Chinese coming over there are Chinese men. What are they doing? They're hooking up with black women over there, our African women. They have realized that if I get me a black woman and have me a baby with her or get married to her or whatever the case may be, that gives me an inroad into gaining property rights.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing right now.
Pardon me, Bob, I just want to say this respectfully. There was a messages coming out of places like the Caribbean, where the Chinese have been buying up land and building hotels, but they wouldn't hire none of the locals. They brought their own people in to do the work. So they know what time it is. You prey on a weak people. And what happens when you prey on a weak people?
There you go. And see, this is all a product, again, of us not studying our own history. Because the exact same thing happened to us in ancient Kemet. That is exactly what happened in ancient Kemet. We started allowing the foreigners to come into our land without any laws or controls in place. We started giving them honorary brotherhood status among us. This was Pharaoh Menes. And Pharaoh Menes was the first pharaoh in ancient Kemet. He the one that opened the floodgates for the foreigners to come in. And then he took it upon himself to even marry one of our foreign adversaries. He married a white woman. This is Pharaoh Menes now. So this is the reason why it is critically important that we as a people start being critical of those who are our leaders and scholars. You have to be, because much of the problems that we have in the world today is because of chronic misleadership and miseducation at the hands of our own leaders and scholars. That's a fact. That's historical fact. We like to point the finger at white folks and what they did to us and oh, it was horrible. Of course, what they did was horrible to us. But see, what you and I don't want to deal with, we don't want to ask ourselves the question, okay, white folks did do that. They raped us, robbed us, murdered us, kidnapped us, enslaved us, put us in the hull of their filthy slave ships and all the rest of that. We look at that and then we run with it and say that, okay, well, that's what we got to concentrate on. No. Yes, we have to do something about that. It's no question about it. But the bigger question is, what were you and I doing or failing to do that allowed them to even do that to you and I? That's the bigger question. What did we do or fail to do that even put us in a position to be taken advantage of by them and other nations the way we've been taken advantage of? What were we doing or failing to do to allow Arabs to take a third of our continent? What were you doing or failing to do as a people? And then when you start asking hard questions like that, that's when you start losing most of us. Because we don't want to hear that. We want to hear somebody that's going to lambaste white folks or lambaste Arabs or lambaste Jews or talk against what Chinese are doing. They're doing horrible things to us. But you have to ask yourself, how are they doing that though? Exactly. How did we get so weak, dependent, and vulnerable that other people can just come in and have their way with us?
Well, let's talk about that, Baba. Let's talk about that.
For sure.
On the great works of warrior scholars that come to know, like the elder warrior scholar Baba M.L. Baruti and ancestors Baba M.L. Amos Wilson and Baba Wright. My Baba Star has recently filed to legally change his name, represents a growing movement among us, particularly the reclaiming of African identity. I would like to get clarity on consciousness and what it means to be conscious, especially when you adapt new names. But too often, many of us stop short, making the full transition into African-centered consciousness. And again, Baba, this is for the family way in the back. The ones who do know, the ones who do not know, or the ones who do know but still choose to follow Eurocentric ways. My question is, once we reclaim our African identity, how do we move in the society? How do we walk in the truth?
Good question. Very good question. The only way that you can walk in the truth, based upon the truth that you have come into the knowledge of, is to fully embrace, internalize, and act on that truth. That's the only way you can do it. Okay? You're not going to internalize the truth just by knowing the truth, just by reciting it and all the rest of that. No. You have to fully internalize and practice that truth. One of the things that has happened with African people, when this started back in the 60s and 70s, we ended up, like I said earlier, I mentioned this, we started taking on African names. Okay. Now, that was a good move. That's good. We should take on our own names. There's no question about it. But see, it's not enough for us to just take on an African name as a nickname. That's not good enough. You and I have got to get serious about the names that we bear. We have got to take a position that I'm going to do whatever's necessary to be done to fully embrace my chosen African name. If I live in this European society, and I do, which is unfortunate, but I do, if I am to take on my name such that others will not be able to call me out of my name, be they Europeans or other Africans or anybody else in the world, if I am to do that, then I've got to go and get all of my so-called quote unquote legal documents changed so that they reflect the name that I have taken on.
Facts.
If you don't do that, then all you're doing is walking around with an African nickname. That's what you're doing. Like Butch or Baby Girl or some other name, you know. No, Red or you know, whatever.
Right.
Butch or whatever. We can't walk. Listen, if you're serious, if you and I are serious about our names, and we most definitely should be, we should put ourselves in a position where nobody can call us out our name. Not a fellow African, certainly not no European, and nobody else in the world, because this is my name. Here, I got all my papers that showing. Not only am I telling you that this is my name, but all of my documents point to the fact that this is who this is. We don't want to do that, though. Many of us don't want to do that. We want to hold on to a European name so that we can, in our minds, have the best of both worlds. I can, like my slave name used to be David. I can be David when I need to be David, and then I can be Batu when I need to be Batu. But one of these names is going to trump the other. The name that's going to trump the other is the one that has legal power behind it. So I carried the name Batu for what? About 20 years before I decided to change my name. I should have did it 20 years before that.
Thanks.
I didn't. Okay. And who paid for it? My children paid for it because they took on my slave last name. Had I changed my name, they wouldn't have no slave last name. I gave them an African first name, but they still carried that slave last name. That's not good. You and I have got to go all the way. And I underscore that, all the way. Not halfway, not some of the way, not kind of, sort of. No, either you own the, you can't straddle the fence. Either you're on the path of freedom and independence and liberation, or you are not. Okay? If we are serious, and I underscore that part, if we are serious. So getting back to to answer your question, how do we solve this problem right here? What are the nuts and bolts of things that a nation of people must do? I want to take the time, if I may, just to read something about culture, and then I'm going to go into the specifics of what you and I have got to do to solve our problems. I'm going to be reading from my book right here, Facing the Truth, Straight with No Chaser. I'm reading from page 400 out of that book, right? Yeah, there you go. I'm reading from page 400. And this is on culture. So bear with me. I'm going to go right through it, and then I'm going to go right into answering you all's question.
Take your time, Baba. Take your time. Take your time.
And this is, again, this is about culture. Listen carefully. Culture is the bedrock, the foundation, the essential fuel upon which nations rise or fall. Therefore, if you destroy people's culture, you destroy the people.
Facts.
However, it is not always true that a nation of people's culture is destroyed by the actions of another nation. No, sometimes a nation of people destroys their own culture by embracing faulty ideas and ways of doing things in life that bring about their own demise. For example, whenever any nation of people allows tribalism, mysticism, and primitivism to infect their culture, They plant the seeds that make it inevitable for them to fall into total ruin. These three deadly diseases, if allowed to fester and spread among a nation of people, causes them to suffer massive disunity, massive superstitious thinking, and massive underdevelopment. And thus, they become easy targets for other nations to dominate, control, and destroy. This certainly was the tragic case for the African world. And we're still failing to address and cure ourselves of these three deadly diseases even unto this day. So the central point being made here is that a people's culture is not always destroyed by other people, but quite often it is destroyed by the people themselves, and other nations simply exacerbate and finalize the destruction that was already in progress, unquote. So I just wanted to read that as a piece, just to lay a foundation for us talking about how we're going to solve this problem. Because the key component to us solving our global problems is cultural. It's no question about that. And be clear that a culture encompasses all aspects of what it takes for a nation of people to preserve and protect their right to exist. So within the framework of a people's culture, you'll find those 12 social systems that we talk about all of the time, that I have been teaching on for over 50 years now and counting. When you talk about a people's culture, you're talking about their system of language, social organization, government, law, familyhood, police, military, education, medicine, religion, technology, and criminal justice. Those are the 12 essential components, major components of a people's culture. So culture is the solution to our problem. It's no question about it. However, for us to solve this problem using our culture, we have got to fulfill some certain responsibilities as a people. Because see, you and I are not going to, as I've said earlier, you and I are not going to get out of this problem and solve the death and get out of the death trap that we're in, and we don't understand what is valuable, what is virtuous, and what our responsibilities are as a nation of people in the world. See, we got to take all three of those things that I just rattled off, your values, your virtues, and your responsibilities. We've got to take all three of those things, put them together, unite around those things, and then we've got to act on them. So the most important values of nations is people, land, and knowledge. Those are the three most important values of nations: people, land, and knowledge. The three highest virtues that a nation can have is for them to be righteous, intelligent, and skilled. Righteous, intelligent, and skilled. These are the critical components of a people's virtues, the things that they should be unified around, the things that they should operate out of. And then you have those responsibilities, and this is the biggie right here, the responsibilities that you and I as a people have got to fulfill for us to not only achieve our freedom and independence, but also maintain it once you achieve it.
Facts.
Because see, right now we're doing a whole bunch of liberation talk, but you see very little movement towards actually achieving it, and even less movement towards us laying a foundation whereby we can maintain it once we achieve it. So now we're going to go through those 7 responsibilities that nations have. The first responsibility that a nation has to themselves is for them to love themselves. That's the first element, the first critical element of nationhood. A lot of people think it's unity. Nope. Wrong. Wrong. A people cannot establish and maintain substantive unity among themselves until they have a fundamental love for themselves. You take away a people's love for themselves, they ain't gonna unite worth of crap. You think they're gonna unite and stay united? No, they ain't gonna unite because the love ain't there. So the first element of people's fulfilling their responsibilities and solving their problems is them establishing a genuine love for themselves. Now, once a people have love for themselves, now you're ready to unite among yourselves. So that's the second responsibility. We must love ourselves. We must unite among ourselves. Now we come to the third one. We must properly govern ourselves. See, a people cannot accept leaders and scholars who are not acting in their collective best interests. That comes from a people not establishing appropriate leadership protocols, appropriate scholarship protocols. We ain't doing none of that. Most of us select our leaders based on how they make us feel. Many of us select our leaders based on how they look or how they talk, or how charismatic they are. You and I ain't supposed to be selecting those leaders just because they got the gift of gab. We need to know, is what you saying true? Is it workable? I looked at you all's interview.
Which one?
You guys suggested it to me to Baba Mku.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was talking about leadership, and we talk about at the Institute, we talk about the basic characteristics of great leaders and scholars. We talk about the basic characteristics that let you know whether this is a great leader or scholar or just a charlatan that know how to talk good. Okay. So I just I'm gonna elaborate on that just briefly, then I'm gonna finish these 7 cardinal and these 7 responsibilities. The basic characteristics of great leaders and scholars are: 1, are they competent and committed? That's the first thing you're supposed to look for someone who you are going to accept as being your leader or your scholar. Because remember, people act based upon those who they embrace as their leaders and scholars. They look to the leaders for direction. They look to the scholars for instructions. So you have to ask, are they competent? Number 1, are they committed? In other words, are they good at getting things done in life versus them simply doing things with no tangible results?
Right.
And are they good at being uncompromising in their service to our people and our collective best interests? These are things you want to look at and see, are they fulfilling that? Number 2, do they have focus and staying power? That's a biggie right there. In other words, not changing simply to appease others, or not here today, gone tomorrow. Because we got a lot of that going on. We got a lot of leaders who don't tell us the stuff that we need to be told. give us instructions that we need to be given instructions on because they're trying to appease somebody or another. A lot of times you step on the toes of, I'm just going to use this as an example, in the so-called conscious, African conscious community. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the so-called African conscious community that's whack. That's not going to get us where we need to go. In fact, it's counterproductive to our liberation. But a lot of times we don't want to say anything. We don't want to talk negatively of those type of things because we know that that person right there, who's regarded as one of our leaders and scholars, they're involved in that. So we don't want to say nothing about that. Well, that's something that's negative for our people. So we must say something about that. Let the chips fall where they may. That's what Dr. John Henry Clark said. He said, you tell the people the truth, you let the chips fall where they may. I don't care if it steps on your toes. You need to stop doing that. Number 3, do they have vision and a plan of action? This is critical stuff. And all of this is basic stuff. What is their vision? Or are they just spouting out terms like black liberation, black power, black power? Okay, I get it. We do need black power. Okay, so what is your plan of action as to how we're going to achieve black power?
Exactly.
Okay. Is their vision clear and reality based? You say you got a vision, you have to have a vision. That's the first thing. What is your vision? And is it clear and is it a reality based, or is it all off in the out in outer space somewhere? Is your idea of solving our problem us waiting on a mothership to come down?
Right.
Is your idea of solving our problem us waiting on our ancestors to reach out from the dead and then solve our problems in life? That's not going to solve our problem. Listen. Our ancestors did what they were supposed to do. I say this all of the time. They brought you and I into being. They left us a mountain of instructions, both positive and negative. It's up to us to sort that stuff out. Identify the positives and build on it. Identify the negatives and learn from it to make sure that we don't repeat those negatives. That's our job. Beyond that, we ain't got nothing coming from our ancestors. They gone. We need to be clear about that. You got some of us walking around thinking that all we have to do is chase after white folks' money, get ourselves a good job, get us a good job so we can make us some good money, and then we can have a nice house, a nice car, and then everything will be okay for us. No, it's not. That's not going to make everything okay for us just because you and I got money. First of all, whose money? Did you produce that money? Who did you get that money from? You're talking about having a good job. Whose job you going to have? Is it going to be your job that you created? What are you talking about? That is what liberation is all about. You got these jokers around here talking about all we have to do is learn the stock market and learn how to get some green power.
Right.
That's insanity. Green power is white power. They the one that produced the green that you talking about.
Yep.
African people have got to understand the seriousness of the condition that we're in. And the changes that you and I have got to make. We have some serious changes to make. Serious changes.
Facts.
Not no surface stuff.
Facts.
Serious changes. Next,
Baba, let's put a pin in that. Just because we don't cover, you don't said a lot, and I just want to make sure Reya'Sekhmet is following or have any questions.
Okay. You have any questions, Princess?
And Baba too. I want to make sure from the 8 to 12-year-olds listening that being African-centered means actively thinking and living in the revolutionary consciousness and sacred space, where the essence of what our ancestors defined and lived as African people is at its strongest and most closely focused centeredness, giving a complete and utter sense of meaning and purpose to being African, whether it's spiritual, mental, or physical state of being, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All of that. We have got to understand that being African conscious, being African committed, all of those things are critical for us returning to ourselves. We also need to be clear. And a lot of us are guilty of this. And in my early days, I was too. A lot of us have this notion that the ancestors and our culture and all the rest of that these things are somehow they're sacred cows. That you shouldn't be critical of your ancestors. You shouldn't be critical of your own culture and all the rest of that. You and I have a responsibility to be critical of those things that we're going to live our lives by. You have to critically analyze the things that you're doing in life so that you make sure that those things are leading you in the direction that you want to go in.
Facts.
You and I would not be in the condition that we're in the world today if it were not for the fact that our ancestors made some horrible, horrible mistakes. We wouldn't be in the condition that we're in. We ourselves have made some horrible, horrible mistakes. But many of our mistakes are due to the fact that we were trying to follow the lead that was set by us, by ancestors who made horrible mistakes.
Exactly.
So we have got to be constantly vigilant in looking out for those things that take us off the path of what keeps us free and independent in the world. And this is what we've got to do. No question about it.
Absolutely. And Bobby, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but please continue with your points on answering her initial question.
Okay. I'm going to go to the responsibility. Let me get, next thing you need to ask about characteristics of great leaders and scholars. Do they lead and teach by their own positive example? That's another biggie. Or are they just telling us stuff? Telling us what to do, but they ain't doing it themselves. They just telling you and I that this is what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
No. The true leaders and scholars of a people, they lead by example, not just by words. Next, do they place the collective interests of our people before any and all other interests? Do they place the collective interest of our people and our collective best interests before any and all other interests? You find that a lot of us have leaders and scholars who tell you, who are quick to tell you and I, well, my first allegiance is to God. My first commitment is to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
My first commitment is to Yahweh. Well, wait a minute. Hold it, Jim Shoe. What are you talking about? You're our leader. We're looking to you to give us insight on where we should go. Your commitment is supposed to be to us first and foremost, because God has no needs or wants in life.
Mm-hmm.
Allah ain't got no needs or wants in life. Amun-Ra ain't got no needs or wants. Amun-Ra, God, Yahweh, all the rest. The divinity that we like to harp on and talk about how we're so committed to that divinity, whatever it may be, the divinity has no needs.
Mm-hmm.
The divinity is absolute. You and I, on the other hand, we got needs. if you're going to be my leader and scholar, you have got to have my interests at heart first and foremost, above and beyond anybody else.
Facts.
We need to be clear. All of us have to embrace, and we know that the one creator is the absolute. We all should recognize and have the utmost respect and admiration and all the rest of the other praise and everything else for the one creator, because the one creator is the one that created all of us. We're clear about that. But that one creator gave you and I the power and responsibility to look out for each other, to look out for ourselves and each other. It is ludicrous for us to talk about how we're going to be committed to the one creator who needs nothing, but we're going to show limited commitment or no commitment at all to ourselves and our own people.
Mm-hmm.
That's foolishness. That shows a lack of understanding the nature of the one creator, the nature of, the nature of our spiritual system, Ankh-Rekh, life science, because that's what Ankh-Rekh means, incidentally. Ankh-Rekh means life science. That's what our ancestors taught. And they departed from that. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in. Next, do they possess an ear for legitimate criticism and a love for correction? These are things you have to look at in a leader or a scholar. Are they, do they have an ear for legitimate criticism? Are they able to listen to legitimate criticism for something that they're doing? We all know that none of us are perfect, right? At least I hope we know.
Right.
You don't let nobody come along and tell you that they perfect or that guy over there is perfect. No one among us is perfect. No one in the universe is perfect. There's only one in the universe who is perfect, and that is the one creator. Everybody else, everything else is imperfect. And that we need to be crystal clear about. So if you have a leader or scholar that you can't bring legitimate criticism to them because they ain't having it, and they don't have a love for correction, and that's something that all of us should have.
Right.
We all should love when we're corrected. You know why? Because if you're doing something wrong, and that, depending on how wrong that wrong is, it could actually cost you your life. So when someone is correcting you, they're actually saving you from suffering harm. That's the reason why you should love correction. I love correction. Now, am I going to sit up here and say I like when somebody points out something that I'm doing that's wrong? Most people don't like it. But the reality is, if I am truly conscious and committed, I'm going to look at what they're telling me. I'm going to analyze what they're telling me. And if it bears out to be true, I'm going to change. And I'm going to shake that brother or sister's hand. Because that is what you should always do for someone who is doing something good for you. And legitimate criticism is a good thing. And then last, are they team players and committed to adhering to the highest truth or the best way of doing things in life? This is something that we need to do as a people. We need leaders and scholars who are team players. Not just, I'm an island unto myself, and we got our own thing, and this is the way we do things, and this is the way we're going to do it. I don't care what you say about it and all the rest of that. No, you and I are one people. I say this to our people all of the time, and this is a concept that most of us have a hard time embracing. Mm-hmm. But it is absolutely true. All African people are one people. No matter where we may be located geographically upon this earth, we are one people. Therefore, any concepts, ideas, principles, or whatever you have that you're coming up with, technology, machinery, whatever it is you have, anything that you have actually is a part of me because you're a part of me. So when you correct me, I'm just going to use this as an example. When you correct me for doing something wrong, it's just like me correcting me because you and I are one. So when you correct me, it's just like me correcting myself. I shouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't be mad at myself for correcting myself. So why would I be mad at you or you mad at me? Okay. This is the type of mindset that has to be brought into the consciousness of the African world. We need to fully embrace the reality that we're one people. Now I'm gonna finish going down these responsibilities.
Okay, yeah. Take your time because after you finish your point on those responsibilities, we about to dive, a little deeper into actually get started to get into the book.
Okay.
We already knew that we was already fired up on how this discussion was going to go. So we already knew the first part of it was going to be exactly how it is that you bringing it. So just keep going.
Absolutely. So number 4. Well, I said number 3. Number 3, we must properly govern ourselves. Number 4, we must thoroughly and independently provide for ourselves. We must thoroughly and independently provide for ourselves. That means you and I must be independent producers of everything, independent, modern day producers of everything that we use in life.
Absolutely.
And then next to that, which is number 5, we must be skilled protectors. We must thoroughly, let me say it the way it is, we must thoroughly and independently protect ourselves in life. That means we must become skilled modern day fighters in all areas of modern combat and warfare. This is what the African world has to do. These are our responsibilities now.
Ashe.
Number 6, we must maintain continuous modernization among ourselves in all areas of life. I said we must maintain continuous modernization among ourselves in all areas of life. Right now, you and I live in a world not of our own creation. We live in a white world, essentially. We live in a world where we're surrounded by things in life that we neither own, control, nor produce. We don't produce
like it is.
We don't produce our pens, pencils, paper, shirts, pants, dresses. We don't produce none of that. We don't produce this computer that we're talking to each other on. We don't produce the lights, the plumbing. We don't produce our washing machines, dryers. We don't produce our own anything. Our own cars, trucks, trains, airplanes, submarines, fighter planes, weapons, weapon systems. We don't produce none of that. We don't even produce our own underwear. Yet we'll sit up all day long talking all kind of liberation talk, but you don't want to do the work to become liberated. That's the work that it takes for a nation to become liberated. You can talk all that talk that you want, what the ancestors said, what this scholar said, what that leader said. You can talk all of that all you want, but until you and I become producers and protectors of ourselves in the world, you and I have nothing coming. And our enemies will continue to do nothing to us but laugh at us and continue to take us out all over the planet, which is what's happening right now. You think Europeans care about anything that they hear us talking about?
Absolutely.
I don't care about none of the stuff that you're talking about. Because I'm clear, and I said this earlier. It takes action for people to become liberated. It takes unified action, not me and you operating as little individuals. I'm doing a little something, something here. You doing a little something, something there. They doing a little something, something over there. They doing a little something, something over there. That ain't the way you get liberated.
Nope.
The only way that Europeans were able to take this country right here called North America is through unified action. That's how they got it.
Yep.
They didn't hope for it, wish for it, dream for it, pray for it, march for it. They didn't do none of that. They rolled up their sleeves, united with each other, and they got busy. They got busy.
All day long.
All day long. You said it. You said it. You just said it.
One more time.
All day long.
All day long.
One more time for the family way in the back.
They got busy all day long in a unified fashion too. They didn't go about it as little individuals. I got my thing, you got your thing, they got their thing. They didn't go about it like that at all, period. African people, that's how we want to go about this liberation struggle. We want everybody to just have their own thing. We all have our own ideas and principles and stuff. And then we just everybody just do their own thing.
Right.
You know, get in where you can fit in and you know, just do your thing, whatever it is, you know, just do your own thing. You and I ain't gonna get nowhere like that. No, nowhere. We're gonna get exactly where we are today, which is nowhere. Exactly. Why? Because we're trying to go about it as little individuals. Everybody just do their own thing. Nations are built on collective action, not individuals doing their own thing. And then last but not least, we must become the sole builders and administrators over our own modern and independent civilization and culture in the world. Right. Let me say that one more time, because that's the cap piece right there. We must become the sole builders and administrators over our own modern and independent civilization and culture in the world. One more time. We must become the sole builders and administrators over our own modern and independent civilization and culture in the world. Until you and I do those 7 things, we can forget it. We can forget it. You know, all this talk of freedom and independence means absolutely nothing. It's just talk. It means nothing. For us to do those 7 things, you and I have got to be united to do it. I can't do it alone, and neither one of you all sitting there can do it alone either. It takes collective action, unified, organized, collective action. Underscore that unified and organized. That means ain't no whole bunch of diddy. No, we all on the same page. We may not be doing the same thing, but everything that we're doing is in line with taking us to freedom and independence.
Right.
So this is what we've got to do. It's just like the human body. That's why you see that chart. It has the biological systems on one side and has the social systems on the other. That's the reason why it's listed like that. Because when you look at a biological system, all of our biological systems work in one accord to achieve one objective. And that is what objective is that? It is to keep us healthy and alive. That means your brain, your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your feet, your hands, your heart, your liver, every system in your body is doing work to achieve one thing and one thing only, to keep us healthy and alive. That is the exact same thing that a people's social systems do for them. That is what social systems do for a nation. It keeps a nation healthy and alive, just like your biological systems. So
Ashe.
that's it.
Oh, that was powerful.
Thank
You
you.
gave the family some breath work, you know. Okay, so Baba Shakari,
Uh-huh.
Sekhmet and I have been reading through your book, Tribalism, Mysticism, Primitivism, and the Rise of Genocide Against the African World.
Sure.
We want to gain a deeper understanding about each one of those sections individually, leading to the rise of genocide. And if you had said some things earlier that may be duplicated, that's okay, because this will help us get more clarity in the book that we're talking about. Okay, so the idea is to let Reya'Sekhmet introduce each section for you to expound on each point.
Okay.
Ashe?
Ashe.
Okay.
Ashe.
Exactly, Baba. Has me thinking. Baba Shakari, let's start with the word tribe. Growing up used a lot. Schools talk about it, tribal conflict. Some people say it's bad, but I don't think our families were ever bad. I think they were beautiful, sacred to the least. Come on, family, what happened?
Come on, family.
My apologies, Baba. Passion just jumped out then.
You had some passion jump out of you just for a moment?
Yeah.
I was talking about when you said, come on, family. Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is, Reya'Sekhmet. You know, we got a lot of sleep people out here, you know, people who just want to, you know, think that they are rising and gaining, but they really not doing none of that. They're doing everything that Baba Shakari has been talking about. And it's a sad sickness, to say the least. So yeah, no, you're right by saying, come on, family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Baba, my question is, in your opinion, how did they, the ruling class, turn something that we had so divine into something we fight about, separate from one another, not trusting one another, and ultimately keep us from all coming together as a collective whole?
That's a good question.
Okay. Well, Europeans, I've said this before, Europeans just took advantage of the disunity that already existed among us. See, when Europeans came up on our continent was seriously suffering from massive tribalism. And that takes us right into the book.
Here we go.
We were suffering from massive, and I do mean massive tribalism. The tribalism that exists in Africa today has become even worse. And I hope you all are catching that our tribalism has not gotten any better. Oh, no, quite the contrary. We have become more tribalistic than even we were when Europeans landed on our continent and started their enslavement process of us. Of course, Europeans landed up in ancient Kemet thousands of years before they initiated their slave trade. But when they started their slave trade, African people were pitifully disunited against each other tribalistically. In fact, it was because of the tribalism that we felt comfortable with selling each other into slavery. And you have many of us today who still continue to deny the fact that we played a role in the enslavement process. And we know that that is true because it wasn't enough enslavers who came to the continent to even pull off that amount of enslavement without a standing army. They didn't come with a standing army. It was a handful of drunkards, scallywags, etc., European drunkards, and etc., the scum of Europe. Those are the ones they recruited to be on the slave ships to haul us in and bring us on the slave ships. It wasn't no massive standing army. That ain't the way slavery unfolded. It unfolded because we had leaders and scholars who had no problem with profiting off of selling their own people into slavery. That's how it happened. We keep trying to ignore the obvious because it makes us feel bad. We don't want to feel that we had a hand in enslaving ourselves, when that is the absolute well-documented reality. All of this stuff is well documented. And it's time for us to stop running away from that. Europeans were able to turn us around and against each other because we were already turned around and against each other. All they did was capitalize on our already existing disunity. They just capitalized on it, just like they're doing in Africa today. The game plan has not changed one iota. They're doing the same thing today, playing one against the other. And they're not having a hard time doing it because we're still racked with tribalism. Tribalism is a state wherein a nation of people turn against themselves. If you really want to know the breakdown of it, that's what tribalism is. That means we have decided that we're not the same people no more. We got our own thing. You got your own thing. She got her own thing. Everybody got their own thing. And then we started dividing our continent along those lines. So now you got your little land there. You got your land there. We got our own government. We started developing our own languages and all. So right now in Africa, there's over 2,000 different languages. That's horrible. How can one people function properly trying to communicate using 2,000 different languages to do so?
Well, let me add this. Mm-hmm. There is one man and I don't even like saying it this way, but that's just what it is, in South Africa, who owns over 290,000 acres of land. How can one man own that much property on a continent that he shouldn't even be there? You know, they're not even native to the continent, but they done turned Africa, you know, that what we call Africa, into a capitalistic piece of property, lack of a better term. You know, I just wanted to say that, as you were saying, you know, veggie back off of what you were saying, is that it's insane to even have to even speak this type of information. But that's what it is, and that's what we got to deal with today.
Absolutely. I mean, enemies are of the opinion, and this has been true throughout the ages. This ain't just started. Enemies are of the opinion that if you catch a fool, you're supposed to bump his head. That's what you do to a fool. You see a foolish people that don't love themselves. They're not united among themselves. They're speaking 2,000 different languages. They can't get along with each other. They can't work with each other. They can't even protect the continent that they live on against foreign incursions into their land. They can't do none of that because they're so pitifully divided against each other. They can't do it. So what you just shared with us makes sense. Why wouldn't I take 2,000 acres or 100,000 or 1,000,000 acres of your land? Why wouldn't I be able to do that to you? You don't have the wherewithal to stop me from doing that to you because you're not united enough to stop it. In fact, what I will do with all that land I got that comes from you, I will pay you all off. Those of you all who may decide that you're going to stand up and say something about it, I'll just pay you off. Okay, Negro. Okay, I see you all upset about all this land that I got and all the rest of it. I tell you what, here, you, all of the ones that's out here doing all this talking, I'm going to give you all $100,000 a piece. That kind of money in Africa will go a long, long way. Among the European world, $100,000 is pennies. That's nothing. But to us, that's a whole bunch of money. Baby, baby, baby. Man, I got some money now. And oh boy, don't say nothing if you give us $1 million or $2 million or $3 million or $10 million. $10 million is nothing to them. But to us, oh, that's a lot of money. But that's because we have lost our sense of value. And that takes us to the other parts of what we were talking about relative to that book. Tribalism is what keeps us disunited. Mysticism is what keeps us believing in fantasy. This whole notion that God is going to solve our problems. We don't have to worry about the things that's happening in the world because God has everything under control, and that's the way it's going to be. And God is going to straighten all of this out in God's own good time. That's bull crap. That's not the way life operates. You and I, if we don't straighten our problems out, you and I will be long gone. And Europeans and the other predator nations on this earth, such as the Chinese and the Arabs, they'll still be here doing their thing. And that continent that you and I love to talk about, but we ain't putting no protections on, you're doing all this talk now. It would only make sense that if you truly value your motherland, you put protections on it. We're doing all this talk, no protections. So it's only a matter of time. And I have said this for over 50 years. And there have been others who have said that. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said the same thing. If you and I don't get our act together, our enemies are going to take every inch of our motherland. Every inch. Yeah, you heard me right. Every inch they're going to take. Just like they took every inch of North America. Every inch of it. They own it lock, stock, and barrel. Oh, yeah, it's a few Indians around here and there. It's a few Eskimos up there in Alaska, etc., etc. But they don't matter. They don't have any real power, and they don't control anything. So it don't matter whether or not I leave a handful of you all scattered here, hither, thither, and thither. Who cares about that? As long as you have no power and no control, it doesn't matter how a handful of leaving you all left. This is what our continental mother African homeland is facing right now, and doing little or nothing about. Yes, Princess.
I want to make sure I understand clearly, and pardon me as I set up my question.
Oh, Sekhmet done came back. Okay.
So what you are saying is, well, I know that we're not confused, and we know what we want. Liberation that is uncompromising. Reconnection that is uncolonized. A life that is ours, not borrowed, not bartered, not begged for. But here's where I need some clarity. The same people who cry freedom are unconscious sisters and brothers, or as I've come to know, the step-affections ones, family. So those individuals often fold under the weight of proximity. They trade clarity for access, truth for tolerance. Baba, I say all of that to ask you the question that must be asked. Are we our own worst enemy? Because too many of us would rather betray the movement than be uncomfortable in a revolutionary it demands.
Okay. Let me address that, because there's a lot of us who embrace this notion that we're our own worst enemy. Now, it is true that African people are doing some horrible things to ourselves. It's no question about it. Okay. However, there are no Africans that I know of that have a global genocidal process in motion against their own people. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some of us, I mean, you got gangbangers out there shooting up other African people and all the rest of that right there. But it is not a global campaign to get rid of us. They're just out there gang banging out of stupidity, insanity, and a lack of discipline. Okay, that's what's going on with that. Once you and I get our house back in order, you'll nip that in the bud in a relatively short period of time. All this drive-by shooting and killing and sticking up and all of the criminal elements that exist in the African world can be easily taken care of once you and I unite and work together as one people towards our freedom, independence, and power in the world. Europeans, on the other hand, they have this unified, organized global campaign of annihilation. So they are our greatest enemies, not us. Now, that having been said, we need to be clear that we are the total solution to our problems, not Europeans. Oh no. Oh no, they're not going to stop what they're doing at all, period. No matter how much we talk and scream and big and all the rest of that. It's going to take you and I to solve our own problem. So in the sense of problem solving, the finger has to be pointed at us because we're not doing the work to solve our own problems. So that's where the big problem lies at. And the biggest aspect of that problem is you and I. So if you're talking about our African people a big problem for themselves, absolutely. And we are the biggest problem when it comes to problem solving. So we need to draw a line of distinction there. We got an enemy who's annihilating us all over the planet. That's our biggest problem in terms of the death and destruction that we're facing. But in terms of solving the problem of that death and destruction, you and I are the biggest problem. We, African people, are the biggest problem because we're the ones sitting on our laurels doing nothing to solve it. We keep listening, and I say this all of the time, and I mean it. We keep saying it all over. We keep relying on faulty leaders and scholars who keep giving us these non-solutions to our problems. They keep telling us that, hey, you and I don't have to liberate ourselves. We already free. That's why we got Juneteenth. See, when Juneteenth come, all we got to do is go out in the street, bump our horns and wave some flags. And see, we already free. So we don't have to listen to those Negroes out there talking all that black liberation talk. We already free. They freed us in 1865. We got leaders among us who say, no, you and I don't have to confront white folks and do anything about liberating ourselves. That's why Allah is there. Allah is the best knower. He knows what's going on, and Allah is going to take care of everything. And besides, there's a mothership up there somewhere, and it's going to come and it's going to take care of all these white folks, and that's going to end everything. So what you want, and then you got others. Well, Jesus is coming back. The Lord promised that he was going to come back, and the Lord is going to be here. All of these things are reading out one message to the African world globally. And this is coming from leaders and scholars. These Negroes are telling you and I that you and I don't have to unite and defend ourselves. We don't have to do any of that. We don't have to liberate ourselves from nothing because we got Allah to do it. We got motherships to do it. We got Jesus coming back to do it. We got our dead ancestors who are going to reach from the grave. They're going to look out for us and make sure everything is all right with us. Hell, our ancestors couldn't even save themselves. What make you think in their dead state, they're going to save you and I, and we in the land of the living? It is our job to do the work necessary to be done to save ourselves. And that applies to not only us here in America, that applies to our people in the motherland and our people scattered throughout the world, the Caribbean, everywhere else, wherever African people are. It is the responsibility of African people to unite together as one and build a modern and independent civilization and culture for ourselves and all of the things that go with that. That's our job.
Facts.
Tribalism and primitivism. Primitivism, that's another biggie. Oh boy. Oh boy, I can't say enough about that. Primitivism. Yeah. That is a state wherein a nation of people like us is living in the Stone Age while everybody else is living in the space age. That taps into what I said earlier, where we're surrounded by things in life that we don't produce. We use them, we have them, like me. I got a car sitting outside right now, but black folks didn't produce that car. No black folks nowhere in the world produced that car. I got this watch on my arm right now that I'm telling time and looking at the time and all of that. I didn't produce this watch, and no black folks nowhere in the world produced this watch. This is the problem that primitivism produces. It puts a people in a position of being totally dependent and vulnerable. And dependence produces vulnerability, and vulnerability invariably produces victimization. If other people see that you're vulnerable, I can guarantee that they're going to take advantage of you. I can guarantee it. Why? Because I'm looking through the pages of history, and history bears witness that when other nations see other nations weak, dependent, and vulnerable, they take advantage of them every time. And I don't give a crap. You can tell them about Jesus said, don't do that to me. Allah said, don't do that to me. Yahweh said, don't do that to me. Amun-Ra said, don't do that to me. You can talk all that crap that you want. They will completely ignore any of your moral rantings. And this is what the African world is facing. We keep trying to throw this crap up in people's face about how they're doing us wrong. Mm-hmm. They already know they're doing you and I wrong. If you know why we know that they know that they're doing us wrong, because they wouldn't let you do the same thing to them. Mm-hmm. That's how you know. They know what they're doing is wrong because they sure as heck wouldn't let you do the same thing to them. So that's letting you know in no uncertain terms, they know it's wrong. Yep. They knew that slavery was wrong. They wouldn't let you enslave them. I bet you that. So you and I know these things. We just got to get up off our duff and decide to get serious and do the work. And those 7 responsibilities speak specifically to the things that we must do. Specifically. I don't believe in just talking in generalities. Black folks, you know, we need to liberate ourselves. Okay. Liberate ourselves by doing what? That's the big question. Okay, yeah, I get it. We do need to be liberated. We do need to be free. Just like our princess just asked. And that was her question. Okay, so how do we do that? Exactly. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You do those 7 things. That's how you do it. And don't make excuses. Don't make no excuses, because that's the first thing that comes in our minds. We'll start telling African people, hey, listen, you know, we need to love ourselves. We need to unite among us. They'll stop you right there. Wait, first of all, hold it. I don't love the N-word. I can't love no people that act like us. They'll stop you right before you even get through with the 7 things they need to do. They'll stop you right at number 1. I can't love a people that think like that. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. But then I tell people who come to me with those type of responses, I tell them right there point blank, then you must be prepared to die. Because if you and I don't unite, if you and I don't love ourselves and unite among ourselves and properly govern ourselves and become producers and protectors of ourselves and all of that other good stuff, then we're headed for the graveyard. Facts. And you can come up with me all you want and talk about, well, I can't work with them and I don't like them. I don't like the way he talk and all the rest of that. You can sit up and tell me all that crap all you want. But it don't hold water in the real world. White folks, and let me put this out here right quick. White folks had a civil war where they went to war with each other, and they killed upwards of 1 to 2 million of their own kind.
Their own people.
I'm talking death and destruction upon each other. Not us now. Each other. They did. This is what they did to each other. They did that because there was a disconnect in their unity among themselves. Once they sold up that disconnect,
business as usual.
And the road was straight ahead. They went back on their rampage of taking the rest of this country from the Indians.
Sure did.
So see, unity is important enough for not only a people to fight for, it is important enough for a people to kill for and die for. That's how important unity is. We don't like to talk about stuff like that because we get quivy, we get butterflies in our stomach. Well, it's enough killing going on already. No, but see, you killing each other for the wrong reason, no. We're fighting each other not to unite with each other. We're fighting each other chasing somebody else's damn money. No, we need to be fighting each other to unite with each other, to bring about the unity that all of us know is critical for us to preserve and protect our right to be here.
And that's the thing, Bob. They're not going to stop us from killing each other for that reason. Matter of fact, they will encourage it. But again, here we are talking, we preaching to the choir, and hopefully that this message that get out there to the people will resonate, but again, we're dealing with a lot of inherited sickness. I always got to go back to that to sickness because it is sick, right?
It is.
And so, and I say that because this is a great segue into Reya'Sekhmet closing out this segment, and then we're gonna get right back at it if that's okay.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. So Rey'a, just go ahead and in your own words, just try to summarize for the family what we've been talking about and how Baba Batu Shakari has been coming today, right?
Okay. So family, here's the truth. Stories are more than just cool stuff that happens. Excuse me, man. They help us remember.
Take your time, Reya'Sekhmet. This your show.
They help us feel brave, and they also help us stay connected to our people. When Baba Batu Shakari writes, it's like he's handing us a flashlight for walking through hard times and the mirror to remind us who we are. His books don't just tell us what happened. They teach us how to stand up, how to speak up, and how to heal the world around us. So when you read his words, listen deep. He's writing for you, and he's writing with love. And he's also writing to help you build the future.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Just 8 years old, huh?
I'm 9 now.
She just turned 9. When? Tell Baba when you turned 9.
August what?
I turned 9 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, that's interesting because I was born in August 3rd.
I was born on August 17th.
August 17th. Wait a minute. August 17th, you was born the same day as the Honorable Marcus Garvey. That's when the Honorable Marcus, no, I'm serious. He was born August 17th. The Honorable Marcus Garvey. Whoa. No wonder she's so sharp. Okay.
Yeah. Right on.
That's a sharp little princess, I'm telling you. I told you I listened to the chat that you all had with Brother Mku.
Yes.
Sharp. She's sharp, and I'm noticing the same thing here. So
yeah.
Sharp princess.
It take a minute for her to get warmed up, but when she do, that passion will jump out a little bit. But she tries to hold it back. But some things, you know, when your star shines so bright, you know, it doesn't make no sense to try to, you know, to dim it. You know, let it burn.
Right. Absolutely.
Let it burn.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's time for a question from the Sekhmet Zone. This is where I ask you a light, fun question to help stretch the imagination.
Stretch that imagination.
Yeah.
All right.
Batu, if you were sharing a meal with 3 ancestors, if just then you had a kitchen full of soul, if you only had one question to ask, who would be the 3 ancestors, and what's the one question you would ask each of them?
Catch that, Baba?
If I had a question for three of our ancestors, who would they be, and what would the question be that I asked each three? The 3?
Yeah.
One question.
One question.
One question.
Wow.
Take
wow.
your time,
Wow.
Baba.
That's kind of it's so much. There's so many to choose from, but I don't know. I think the first one I would probably question would be Pharaoh Means. I would ask him the question, what were you thinking when you decided to sleep with our enemies and initiate your policy of brotherhood by allowing all of the foreign enemies into our Kemetic homeland?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question that I would ask Means, Pharaoh Means. Let me see. The next person in our history. I would ask Queen Nzinga.
Okay.
Queen Nzinga. And this is the great queen who was a queen of Ethiopia, incidentally. She was a queen in Ethiopia. And she's the one that Alexander the Greek, he had brought his army and he was contemplating invading Ethiopia at the time because he had already conquered Egypt. So I guess he figured he was just going to keep on pushing all the way into keep on. Wait a minute. I think it was Queen Candace, not Nzinga. That was Queen Candace, Ethiopian, ancient queen, Queen Candace, not Nzinga, Queen Candace. Yeah. And she brought her army because she had heard that Alexander was amassing troops and was getting ready to invade into Ethiopia to make that one of his colonies like he did in Egypt. And she brought them troops, and he saw all of those troops, and he saw that bad sister up front, and she wasn't cheesing, she wasn't grinning, and all of her troops was well organized, you know, the whole 9. And plus she had already had her reputation had preceded her, that she wasn't nobody's joke on the battlefield. So the question that I would ask her is, where did she get her inspiration to be so much of a military force to reckon with, even back then in the ancient world, and to have risen to such a stature of importance in the ancient world? I would ask her. That's what I would ask Queen Candace. And I think the last one, it would probably be Hannibal the Great.
Okay.
It would be Hannibal the Great. Yeah, it would be Hannibal the Great. And I would ask him, how did you even come up with the idea of being able to go across the Alps through all of that terrain and weather and taking a whole army with you and think on how you would be able to not only survive the trip to the gates of our enemies, but also how you were able to think it all the way through to the point of actually bringing Rome under siege. So that's the question that I would ask. Yeah, Hannibal. Hannibal the Great. Yeah.
Want to share a little bit with
Yeah.
Baba about who you would bring to the table?
Oh.
I would bring Fannie Lou Hamer, Kathleen Cleaver, and Baba Wright.
Oh, okay.
Bobby Wright?
Yeah.
Bobby
Okay.
Wright. Well,
you want to, yeah, right.
Kathleen Cleaver, Fannie Lou Hamer. Okay.
and Bobby Wright.
Okay.
And ask, what question would you ask them? You had a question for each of them, though. Even sick and tired.
I would ask Fannie Lou Hamer. Let me think. How did you get that much courage to stand on the stage and say what you said?
And what was it?
Okay.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what we got to get. You know that?
Yeah.
She's on it. She's on it. She's on it. That's what we have got to get. Because when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you ready to act. Okay? Ain't no more talk. Ain't no more rap. Ain't nobody got to tell you nothing. You ain't got to be motivated because you already sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay?
Exactly.
You got to act fast.
And what did she say? You can pray until you faint.
But God's not going to put it in your lap.
Okay.
That's
how right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm loving it. Loving it.
What would you want to ask the good sister Kathleen Cleaver?
I would ask her if I could join the Black Panther Party, to be honest.
Okay. You ready for that type of situation, huh?
Yep.
What about
Dr. Bobby Wright?
For Bobby Wright?
Let me think. One day I might be on the stage like he did. I'm gonna ask how to get to that point.
Yeah,
how to get to the point?
We had started reading
Psychopathic Racial Personality. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why she said Bobby Wright.
Yeah.
So we would start to read that. So she wants to know.
He's one of our great ones. One of our great ones.
You want to know about what the African consciousness, African-centered
consciousness.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You fired up now? All right, let's keep it moving.
So Baba, what about the rise of genocide against African people? Not just physically, but spiritually, intellectually, and narratively. Will you speak to the genocide section? Because when we say ancestral meal, we're also talking about stolen kitchens, poisoned recipes, and the need to plant whole new gardens. So can you clarify on that?
You mean to clarify on genocide and how it the myriad of ways that it's initiated against the people? Is that the question she's asking?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. It all tied into the book. I think that's a great position to be in after we talked about tribalism, mysticism, primitivism, and now we're right into genocide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, genocide is the deliberate and systematic destruction of a nation of people. That is what you're seeking to do. Generally, genocide is committed against a people when said people are no longer regarded as being useful to the ones who are committing the genocide against them. Okay? That's the general reason why genocide is committed against a nation of people. African people have the unfortunate circumstance of being victims of what is known as total war. Even though the outcome is genocidal in nature, we're being attacked on every level of our existence. Now, we do know that genocide ultimately means the physical, the biological killing of a nation of people. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about the biological killing of a nation of people. Okay. However, African people are being destroyed on a multitude of different levels, above and beyond just physically or biologically. Like you mentioned, African people are being destroyed politically, economically, intellectually, spiritually, technologically, militarily. We're being destroyed on all of those levels. And that is total war. That means in total war, you leave no stone unturned. It's not like you just attack them militarily. So you come in with guns blazing and then you put them to death. That's not what's happening with African people alone. Yes, we are being slaughtered biologically as well. We are being physically put to death. It's no question about that. But we're being destroyed on a multitude of other levels, and those other levels are serving to weaken us so that the biological killing will proceed more smoothly. That's the whole purpose of you attacking a people on a multitude of different fronts. So that's why it's important that African people believe in foreign religious doctrines. I'm just using that as an example. That weakens African people spiritually because it causes you to start embracing beliefs that are counterproductive to you, your people, and your continued existence. Christianity disarms African people. And a lot of people, I'm just using Christianity, but that's true of all of the foreign religions.
Because we agree.
Yeah, it's all of the foreign religions. It's Judaism, Islam, all of them do the same thing relative to African people. These religions are disarming us because they're filling us up with this notion that we don't have to be providers nor protectors of ourselves. That is the province of God. God will be our provider and protector, and the only thing we need to worry about is how do we please God? So see, if we please God, then we'll get God on our side, and then God will fight our battles for us. Right. In the Bible, they actually go on to actually say that you and I shouldn't even fight our own battles. We should move aside and let God punish our enemies. Let God deal with those who are doing us wrong. The Bible even goes so far as to say that if somebody strikes you on one cheek, you should turn the other and let them strike the other cheek. This is in the Bible. This is the type of insanity that African people have embraced. That's killing us. It's killing us because it's disarming us. The Bible also talks about, all of the other foreign religions do too, this whole idea of forgiveness. Our ancestors speak against forgiveness. Let me say that again. That's why we study Ankh, Rekh, life science. We study out of a book called The Husia. It was written by, it was retranslated by Dr. Maulana Karenga. But the book is a powerful book because it deals with how our ancestors thought about the issue of wrongdoing, violence, and how it should be dealt with by a nation of people. Our ancestors taught us to punish those who deserve punishment, because none will equal your righteousness when you're punishing those who deserve it. Our ancestors didn't tell us to forgive wrongdoing, people who are doing wrong and perpetuating violence against you. Oh, you just go on and forgive them, and that's God's way. That ain't what our ancestors taught us. Our ancestors said that you must punish wrongdoing and violence, or wrongdoing and violence will take over your civilization and culture. And that is exactly what happened in our motherland. We turned our back on the great teachings of our ancestors, and we started following nonsense. Oh, but we can forgive, forget, and all the rest of this crap. You don't forgive and forget wrongdoing and violence. What you're doing is what you're actually doing when you forgive wrongdoing and violence. What you're doing is right. You're giving them free license to keep on doing the wrong and engaging in the violence. That's what you're doing. African people have got to come out of that mindset. But the reason why they're infusing that mindset into us is because it disarms us and it gives our enemies free reign to do whatever they want to do to us, because they know that we believe in nonsense like forgive and forget. No sane people would forgive and forget wrongdoing and violence. No, you punish wrongdoing and violence so that you can read out a message to those who would repeat that behavior. Okay? You don't forgive it. No, that's the worst thing you can do. I said that is the worst thing that you can do. And the Hosea teaches that. The Hosea teaches us that if you forgive, I'm just paraphrasing. The Hosea teaches that if you forgive wrongdoing and violence, you're going to destroy your own civilization and culture. In so many words, that's what it says right in the Hosea. You're going to destroy your civilization and culture because they're going to start running amok. And again, that is exactly what happened in ancient Kemet. Many of our pharaohs, they saw what the foreigners was doing in our land. They saw it because one of our great sages, Neferti, pointed it out to him, went and approached the pharaoh Senefru. He was the pharaoh at the time, 4th dynasty, Senefru. Great pharaoh at the time. Well, Neferti approached him and said, listen, these Asians and these foreigners, they're in our land and they're wreaking havoc. You need to send some troops down there to stop these people and run them out of our country. And Senefru's response was, oh, it's just a few of them. It ain't nowhere near enough of them to cause all of the problems that you're implying. So, we're just going to overlook them. And it's more than enough of us to take care of that problem if it should become a problem. Well, it had already become a problem. And because you did nothing about the problem when it was small and tiny enough for you to nip it in the bud, because you didn't do nothing about it, it started growing. It got bigger and bigger, and more foreigners started coming into our land. And the next thing you know, they took over all of Kemet. And the rest is history. Now, Arabs, not only do they control Kemet, which is modern day Egypt, not only do they control all of that, they control all of North America, all the way over to Morocco. Why? Because you and I failed to stop the foreigners when we should have stopped them thousands of years ago. You didn't do it. So you paid a price. And that speaks to this whole notion of forgiveness. And no, ain't no forgiveness, nothing. You suffer the consequences for your actions, and hopefully you'll learn from that punishment.
Facts.
And if exactly.
And
You got something you wanted to say?
Yeah. When I think about everything you've written, built, and sacrificed, I wonder if you ever felt buried by it, not just tired, but spiritually tired, like too many walls, not enough doorways. Basically, did you ever feel like giving up? And what helped you keep going?
Oh, okay. Well, since coming into consciousness, I have never, ever felt like giving up. Okay. Have I got tired? Oh, yeah. No question. No. I would be telling the untruth if I said I never got tired. I done got tired a whole bunch of times. Okay? I done got tired. There's no question. But when you get tired, all you do is rest. Get you some rest. I highly suggest it. You get you some rest, and then you rejoin the fight. That's what you do. You get you some rest, rejoin the fight, get with more vigor, and do what you got to do. And be clear that you're going to get tired again and again and again, because this is an ongoing struggle. It ain't no one and done deal. It ain't like we can fight these people today and then we ain't got to worry about them tomorrow. That ain't the way it go. Even when African people do achieve our freedom and independence in the world, hear me well on this. Even when we fully recover our freedom, independence, and power in the world, you and I still have not finished the job.
One more time.
Because liberation is a permanent job that nations must permanently work with.
Say it again.
And maintain. Liberation is permanent work for a nation of people, because you have to maintain your freedom and independence in the world. You can't just achieve it. Achievement is not good enough. You have to maintain it. That's what happened in Haiti. I'm just using this as an example. Toussaint Louverture and the people of Haiti and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, they had to fight the Haitian Revolution. They achieved their freedom and independence. They ran the foreigners out of there. In this case, it was the French. But they had fought the French. They had fought the British, and another country over there, the Spanish. They had beat the Spanish, the French, and the British. So they had done a lot of fighting. Okay, they did a lot of fighting, and they won. Now, all of that's fine and good, but the enemies that we got, they don't just go away because you beat them. That ain't the way life operates. Your enemies don't just go away just because you beat them. No. You have to, at that point, once you beat them, you have to put things in place to make sure that they don't come back to not only re-enslave you, but they might also decide to actually exterminate you next time. So liberation is an ongoing, permanent process that people must engage in generation after generation as long as they exist.
Facts.
Hear me well on that. As long as they exist, you must be diligent and vigilant. That's what it's called, those two terms, diligent and vigilant. I've got to be constantly protective, and I've got to be constantly productive. I got to be constantly productive and constantly protective.
One more time for the family way in the back. Say it one more time, Bobby.
We have got to be constantly productive and constantly protective of our freedom and independence in the world. That's what liberation is all about.
So, Baba,
Yes, sir.
may I ask you something that's been on my spirit?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Baba. When you were walking in your assignment, like building institutions and temples and protecting truth like a warrior, often there's a strong counterpart alongside. If you don't mind, will you share a little bit about your divine reflection / counterpart in the struggle?
Oh, okay. Well, at the time that I established the African World Research Institute, at that time, I had 3 divine reflections. I had 3 wives. I am a adamant, loyal practitioner of African familyhood. African familyhood stands on the principle that every African man, woman, and child has an absolute right to love, companionship, and familyhood participation and fulfillment. That is what African familyhood is based on. It's called uniplurality. Some people call it polygamy. But the reality is, African familyhood says that no matter what the population ratio may be among women and men, every African man and every African woman has an absolute right to love, companionship, and familyhood participation. Every single one of them. In the African world, ever since anybody can remember, there has always been more women than men within the African world. Ever since anybody can remember. African people have a responsibility to construct a form of familyhood that makes sure that everyone's familyhood rights and needs are met. Everyone. No one should be left out of the loop. We as a people had that practice in place in our motherland when we were in our right minds. We strayed away from that after coming in contact with our enemies. Our enemies start teaching us that, oh, well, no, that ain't the way it should go. One man should only have one wife and should only have one set of children, and that's the way it goes. Okay, well, if we live in a society, let's say, where there's 3 women to every 1 man, what are those other 2 women supposed to do? You tell me what they're supposed to do, African world. Since we are following white folks, we see what they do. What white folks do is they just sneak around. That's what white men do. They just sneak around and have a whole bunch of women on the side. That's what they do. Or the women who are in the surplus, they start sleeping with each other. That's what white folks do. That's what white men do. They sleep with each other. This is a practice that was started in the European world. This is not something that was indigenous to African people. We made sure that there were no women who had to go through life without benefit of a husband. We made sure of that. We created familyhood systems that made sure that all of our women and children's needs were met. That's when we were real men, real warriors. We were really taking care of business. But now they have changed us. They have changed us into being reflections of them. So now, even though we know that there's more women than men among us, instead of us stepping up to the plate and being real men, we decide that the way we know that there's more women than men, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get me a couple of chicks on the side and then hope that my wife don't find out about it. That's immoral. That's uncivilized. That's something that your enemies do. That's not the African way. Not at all. Not at all. So when I started my journey, and I told you all about the Black People's Topographical Research Center, that is where I was introduced to African familyhood, among other things. In fact, I say without reservation that the Black People's Topographical Research Center was my foundation. No questions, hands down. No question. C1 Dr. Babalawo Karunama, who was the director and founder of the TOP, we call it the TOP, the Black People's Topographical Research Center. When I came to the TOP in my young, tender age of 16 years old, he had 3 wives at the time. 3. And he loved all 3 of them, and they were beautiful sisters, beautiful queens. And they did the work down there with him, with him. They understood and he had children by all three of his wives. They understood that the needs of the collective must always come before the wants of any individual. They understood that, they internalized that, and they practice it. That's why you didn't have no problem with it. See, African familyhood is as easy as breathing when you internalize the principle upon which it's based. Now, if you don't internalize the principle, then you're going to just say, well, he's just a woman chaser. He's just a skirt chaser. He just want a whole bunch of women. It takes serious work. Take it from someone who has been practicing African familyhood since I was 16. It takes serious work to be a husband to 3 wives and 3 different sets of children, a father to 3 different sets of children. That takes work. That's not no easy task. And then you're interacting with your wives and all of your children. You all are going places together. You all are doing things together. And you are contributing to the proper functioning of the nation that you are a part of. And this was put in motion tens of thousands of years ago, long before we came in any contact with Europeans. But I said, once we came in contact with foreigners, that's when our families start crumbling. They brought us to total ruin.
Yeah, because they told us not to do it, but they were doing the very thing that they told us not to do.
Yeah, only they were sneaking around doing it. Yeah, only they were sneaking. They're not doing the same thing we were doing. They were doing a bastardized version of it.
Yeah, exactly. In the nighttime, they was creeping.
Exactly. They was creeping. They wasn't marrying these women and taking care of these women, looking out for these women, giving them spiritual insight, giving them financial support, the whole 9. Everything that a husband is supposed to do. Okay? This is what we were doing. That ain't what he do. So my queens were with me. They're with me now. Right now, in fact, a few months ago, I lost one of my queens in May of this year. Beautiful sister queen.
Hear that? Peace to the ancestor.
After 12 years of marriage. So it was a blow. But my queen that's with me now, I have a queen with me now. She's still functioning. She's still moving. And we're gonna bring another queen into the family because we're clear. We're clear. We have to do the work of upholding our culture and doing our part to contribute to the well-being and functioning of our nation. Okay? Europeans try to tell us that homosexuality is a good substitute. It's okay for women to sleep with women and men to sleep with men. That's not okay, nothing. That's counter self, counter family, counter nation, and counter life. Counter life. And to make it the boot, remember I told you that they have initiated a program of total war against the African world. Well, homosexuality is a part of that total war program because they have decided that, you know what, I can attack them at the jugular. If I can get them to sleep with each other, man to man and woman to woman, I won't have to worry about any future generations of them even existing because they won't have produced a future generation. This is the page that our enemies are on. We, in our small-mindedness, we continue to think that, well, you know, my name is John and that's Bill, and I love Bill, and I don't care what you say. I'm just going to love me some Bill. And then my name is Sally, and her name is Susan, but I love Susan, and me and Susie going to get together, and we're going to love each other. That's insanity.
Garbage.
Straight up garbage. And we need to stand firm against it, though. We need to stand firm against it. We need to understand when someone has us under attack. That is a part of studying war. See, war ain't just studying how somebody is shooting at you with this gun or that gun or using this tank or that bomb. Studying war also means you know every aspect of how you're being attacked. Because we're under psychological attack. I just mentioned we're under spiritual attack. African people are under sexual attack as well. And homosexuality is part of that sexual assault that's taking place against the African world today. And it's part of that assault.
We have to protect the family.
Absolutely. And we have to protect the family and grow the family. That's what we have to do.
Absolutely.
That is if we value our lives. Now, if we don't value our lives and we don't care nothing about life, then you can keep on being a homosexual. You can keep, men and women, y'all can keep sleeping with each other and all the rest of that if you don't value your life. But if you and I value our lives, we're going to stand up strongly against homosexuality. And I'm not trying to demonize them or anything like that. I'm clear that the homosexuals that exist anywhere in the African world, do you know what I view them as? I view them as remnants or casualties of war. That's what you're looking at. Casualties of war. We have got to treat the casualties of war that's among us. We have to do that. Okay? You can't just turn your back on it, throw your hands up to it, none of that. You have to confront it heads on. But you must tell them the truth. And yeah, you're going to hurt some feelings. I can tell you that. Because that has become entrenched in the African world. Because we keep listening to our enemies. But nevertheless, it is our job. Yes, it is. It is our job to face the truth straight with no chaser. No chaser. And a part of that means dealing with the casualties of war that exist all around us. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Ashe. Ashe.
And Baba, I asked that question because I've been thinking how I see my Baba Erasure and Nana Cynthia Aakhu'Ra working together, building up the Batu Institute in lockstep with one another. Mm-hmm. Maybe now, more than ever, the children ought to see more of this togetherness as collective effort and strategy in our communities, more sacred teamwork.
Ashe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
1,000%, 1,000%, she's right. Our circumstance and condition demands that we pull together closer, that we form stronger bonds with each other, not disperse. We need stronger bonds among ourselves. And African familyhood is one way that we can bring about that stronger bond. Because we need to be connected with each other globally across the globe. There should be no such thing as a husbandless mother within the African world, and there should be no such thing as a fatherless child anywhere in the African world. We can solve those two problems, but we have got to unite to bring it about. It's not going to happen on its own. You and I have got to unite to bring about this tightening of our bonds. Like I said, there should be no such thing as a husbandless mother within the African, a husbandless African woman in the African world, and there should be no such thing as a fatherless African child in the African world. No such thing. But yeah, let's bump it off.
Well, yeah. You know, we try to do our best in our other videos to put forth the information and, you know, the resources and the books and things like that. And I think we did a book review on this book.
Oh, really?
Tribalism. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
And Bob Shakari, I've heard folks say reclaiming a name is like painting a flag, but others act like it's just a surface level. So, Baba, my question is, does renaming yourself really matter when someone's trying to walk African-centered? And I'm definitely interested in your name. So will you share with the family about your unique name and what it means or what it means to you and how the name Batu Shakari came to be?
Okay. Batu I'll answer that part first about me and my name. My name is Batu Amir Shakari. Batu means one who understands. Amir means king. And Shakari means one who struggles to be undefeated. Okay? And that was a created name. Because I'm an African and I created the name, it is a African name. Okay? Now, that out the way. Now, the first part of your question, which is very, very important. Yes, a name is critically important. The name that a people take on, the name that you bear, is critically important. It is not no surface anything. Anyone who tells you that, they are absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. The name that a person wears connects them with a people, land, and culture. This is important. You must have a name that connects you with the people, land, and culture of your origin. African people must make it, if we're talking about recovering our freedom and independence in the world, a part of that is us recovering the names that were taken away from us. The names that we have now, most of us, the names that we carry now are names that come from the people who enslaved us. This is not a good thing. This is how nations get their victims to identify with their victimizers. You give them your name. So now you don't even identify with the people, land, and culture that you come from. Now I give you my name. That's why you see in that movie came out in the 70s called Roots. That's why you saw where that European forced Kunta Kinte to take on the name Toby. He was doing that just not just to be mean, even though that was a part of it, but that wasn't his focus. That was not his ultimate aim. His ultimate aim was to get you to disconnect yourself from the people, land, and culture that you came from, and to instead identify with the people, land, and culture that you are a part of now, which is your enemies' people, your enemies' land, and your enemies' culture. So no, there's nothing superficial or small or surface about a people taking on, a person or people taking on their own names. Taking on your own name is foundational for you being able to fully embrace who you are as an African. That is the reason why I speak strongly against Africans who take on African names as a nickname. They don't go through the whole process of changing their names so that no one can call them out of their name. They just say, okay, well, I know my name is Johnny Jones, but I'm going to take on the name Shaka Zulu.
Right.
Okay, so the name that this society is going to identify and connect with you is Johnny Jones. Your name, Shaka Zulu, don't appear nowhere except for maybe in some little notes that you may write here or there, or something that you tell to your friends or people close to you. But the rest of the society and the world is only going to see you as Johnny Jones. And that's not going to change until you change the paper trail that identifies you as Johnny Jones. You have got to get rid of that paper trail so that no one, and I repeat this, no one can call you outside of your name. My name is Batu Amir Shakari. And no one, African or non-African, has any justification whatsoever to call me any name other than my name. This is what African people have got to do who are serious about this thing called Black liberation. That's what we have to do. Okay? And of course, and I hear people saying it all of the time, well, you know, I just don't want to, I just can't see myself paying the white man to change my name. You pay the white man for everything else. What are you talking about? This is something that you're going to be paying him to do for you, to undo a problem that was created for you by them.
Right?
Exactly.
So this is the reason why that excuse don't carry no weight. That's why I have a problem with individuals who don't legally change their name. They come up to me with all these nicknames, and you see them writing books, and then in the fine print you see this book was copyrighted by David Beverly, blah blah. You know, that's who did that. That ain't the way that's supposed to be. If you are serious about your Africanness, then you're going to prove it by your actions. I've said ever since this discussion started, liberation is about action. It ain't about talk. Anybody can talk. So what? Anybody can show what they know about this, that, and the other. So what? The question is, what are you doing with that knowledge? Are you acting on the stuff that you're talking about? That's critical. That's critically important. Okay? And that's why you heard me say, I regret that I didn't change my name long time ago. It's been over 20 years now since I've had the name Batu Shakari. Thank goodness. I've got a good 20 years in, 20 plus years of having this name as my name, my only name. That name David Beverly don't exist no more. You call me David, I'm going to look around and see who you talking to, because you certainly ain't talking to me. This is what we have to do. Again, if we're serious. And one of the big problems that African people have, and then we can move on with the rest of your questions. One of the biggest problems that African people have globally is the fact that we do not take life seriously. That's one of our biggest problems. We don't take life seriously. Everything is a joke to many of us. Everything is a joke. Everything is funny. Now, don't get me wrong. There are things that's funny. I laugh just like everybody else. I have my times when I have fun just like everybody else. But I don't let fun take the place of business. I don't let fun become more important to me than seriousness. There are things in life that are dead serious, and you must treat them accordingly. Things that are fun should not take precedent over things that are important, things that are serious. And African people are getting those things twisted. In fact, many of us have made it so twisted that we think fun is more important than things that are serious. And that is that's a part of why we're in the condition that we're in as a people today. Okay?
Sure.
And Baba, for your information, my name is Sekhmet combines Rhea, a radiant link to Ra or Re, embodying divine light, higher guidance, and ancestral wisdom, and Sekhmet, the nectar of war, protection, defense, and healing. Together, Reya'Sekhmet represents the channel's light, rage, healing, and boundless insight.
I say. You know what?
Okay. See, She
doing that genie nod, you know.
She rattling it off, ain't she?
Yeah. Check
Now,
her out, Mama.
Now, of course, when you talk about names, that's stuff that you got to live up to now. Okay, there's one thing to rattle it off, what name mean and all of that. That's fine and good. But see, when you start talking about names, you got to live up to that stuff. So you done put a lot on your plate. Okay?
You up for that challenge?
Okay. You got a lot on your plate. Okay, a whole lot. Okay, so and I found that I got a lot of plate trying to talk about one who understands. And that's what makes me stay. My head stays glued in a book because I'm trying to live up to what my name means.
Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah. So you have to live up to that name. So that's powerful. But yeah, that's good. That's good.
Absolutely. So Baba, as we twist this corner on the last segment of the show, let me ask you something with reverence, of course, and that's about brother. Is it
Nkosi Mundari?
Yeah, Nkosi Mundari.
Right.
Because I had the opportunity to listen to his presentation, Killer in the House, and that was powerful. And could you please speak about Brother Mundari and what his impact he had on the Institute? And peace be upon Brother Mundari as an ancestor.
Absolutely. He was one of our intellectual giants. I've said it over and over again. Just a great brother. He was a revolutionary teacher. He held a master's degree in psychology from the European educational institutions, and he held a doctorate degree from the African World Research Institute. So that's why we call him Dr. Nkosi Mundari, and he earned that degree May, June, July, August. He earned his doctorate degree 3 months before he made his transition. He had just earned his doctorate degree at the Institute.
Wow.
Because he earned his doctorate degree in May. He received his doctorate degree in May of 2018. He made his transition in August of 2018.
Wow.
3 months later. And it was a blow to all of us. It really was. It was a blow to all of us. He was a practitioner of African familyhood. He left 3 wives. He left children. It was a blow to all of us. Of course, all of his children were grown.
Mm-hmm.
All of his children were grown. Thank goodness. But he was just a great brother. He was a great thinker. He wrote two outstanding books. Genocide by any other name is still genocide. Yeah, that's it right there. Great work, masterpiece. And he was just an outstanding great African. He wrote another book that we had to finish. He had written all of the book. He just had not put the finishing touches on it because he made his transition before he was able to publish it. Mm-hmm. It was called Teeth and Claws, Blueprint for the Last Resort. That was his last work before he passed. It is a monster literary work. He put his foot in that one, as we used to say when we was coming up. He put his foot in that work.
That's the one that we don't have. So
yeah,
that'd be our
we got copies of it. So whenever you're ready, just let us know. It's on that list. So whenever you're ready. But he was just a great and great orator. Oh man, he was a teacher par excellence. He was a teacher par. You saw it.
Yeah.
He was a teacher par excellence.
It's powerful.
And great researcher. I'm talking about he did detailed research, not just surface stuff. He wanted the details, in depth. having books stacked on top of each other while he's doing there, putting together his articles or whatever it was he was doing. So
Yes.
he was a great one. He was definitely one of our great ones, and he'll sorely be missed. But I tell our people all of the time, he left great works for us to draw from. He didn't leave. He didn't leave us, as they say, dry, high and dry. No, 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 no. He left us a wealth of insight, revolutionary insight to our liberation struggle and the work that needs to be done. He did that. Yes, he did.
And again, peace to Brother Mundari.
Absolutely.
So, Baba, is there anything that we didn't touch on today that you want to talk about? And is there anything coming up for you in the near future that the family should know about? Speaking engagements, community practices, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, we covered all of the bases relative to the material that we talked about. So I think we covered it quite well. I mean,
Yeah.
if you would have asked me my opinion, I think we covered it quite well. And we put quite a bit of time into this too. So, but we
And we're
did
very
work though.
thankful for the
Yeah, we did some work though. It ain't like this was just chatter. It was work. We put in some work here. And our dear princess there, she was on it. I have to tip my crown to her, because even though she's just 9 years old, she's kicking it big time. And now that I done found out that she was born on the same day as the Honorable Marcus Garvey, whoa! All I have to say to that is whoa. You in good company in terms of your birth date. Okay, you in good company. Okay, because the Honorable Marcus Garvey was one of our all-time greats. No question about it, hands down. He was one of our great ones, and so I'm so grateful that she was born on that date. That's great. That is great.
Family, I must honor teachers, not textbook teachers, not loud teachers, but truth teachers, truth tellers, soul teachers, legacy teachers, truth defenders. And that is the Mu Institute taught me how to listen, taught me how to feel, taught me how to remember. My Nana Musa teaching me softly, but her words are strong as stone. She says truth is an opinion. It's alignment. Balance isn't calm. It's precision. Justice is revenge. It's restoration. And my Baba Reya'Sekhmet teaches me in rhythm. Each lesson a drumbeat. Each story a rebirth. He says harmony requires courage. Order is sacred architecture. Reciprocity is spiritual math. And righteousness is motion and met with memory. They taught me Ma'at. Not just the feather, not just the icon. Ma'at is a compass, a scale, a sword. It tells me when to speak. It tells me how to walk. It tells me when silence is betrayal. So family, when I studied Batu Shakari's book, I used those 7 lenses. Truth, Baba Shakari knows who he is. Balance, he acts when others pause. Justice, he stands for our people. Harmony, he chooses sacrifice over silence. Order and arrangement, he organizes rebellion with clarity. Reciprocity, he gives memory back to our people. Righteousness, he remembered even when it hurt. Family, these teachings are not history class. They are medicine. They are armor. They are breathwork. And I carry them now. In every single story I tell, in every word I shape, in every silence I break. So dua, Nanamu, Ashe, dua Babrasar, Ashe. Ma'a walks with me, and I walk for her.
Ashe.
Babrasar, do you want to give the family some parting words, like some constructive criticism when it comes to worshiping your precious gods and start holding your leaders accountable?
Absolutely. Okay, so Baba Shakari, I want to share with the family a quote that I heard you say before, and I think it's befitting that I say it right now. And I paraphrase Baba, so please bear with me, and I hope I do your statement justice. And that is, African people must rise above the trance they are in today, because we are in one deep, serious, disorienting, and corrosive hypnosis, family. And if we don't start holding our leaders and scholars accountable, we will continue dragging our bones behind false prophets who answer to everything else but us. When someone stands before you, be it preacher, a priest, scholar, or even a chief, and says, I only answer to the Creator, as soon as they claim their highest allegiance is somewhere out there, they have declared you irrelevant, family. They stepped outside of the covenant. And right then, and Baba, I heard you say this before, and right then, you supposed to kick they ass out of any position of leadership in your society with precision, with grace, or with wrath, because they're saying out loud to you, family, is that they have a greater loyalty to the invisible man or woman, be it what it may, than to you, the people in front of them right now. And family, hear me on this now. Not all of us, as some of us, like Baba Batu Shakari, Ankh, Takai Kilimanjaro, Reya'Sekhmet, Mkuemzi, Imwale Mubaruti, Olatunji Mwamba, and other warrior scholars have done and are doing. But most of you are still walking blind, or walking zombies, as I call you, out here in this world. So family, we must take responsibility for the curriculum we feed ourselves, our children. We must build the institutions that can hold our truth with integrity. We need institutions grounded in African-centered truth, not convenience, not ego, and definitely not colonial framework. And I'll land my plane with this, family. The time for insubstantial inspiration is over. We need warrior scholars. We need strong institutions. We need leaders who allegiance is to the people first, last, and always. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then good, family. That discomfort, that precedes clarity. That's the initiation you've been avoiding. Now, let's continue to build.
Did you hear that, family? Kick themselves out.
All right.
Let's be clear, family. Bragging or boosting is not strategy. Come on, family. Wearing the clothes or symbols is not service. You say you rep the ancestors? Cool. Now show how. This week, create something. Art, speech, a movement that makes your mind wiser. Learn one local law or school rule that keeps us boxed in and questioning. Build with 2 other youth about a project that teaches truth, not just hanging out or chilling with one another. Make an impact louder than your outfit. We cannot brag about culture while begging the system to recognize our power. Do for self, arm with truth, produce freedom, not just women.
Yeah. And Baba, do you have a way? If yeah,
Absolutely.
right on. You know, Bobby, do you have a way for people to get in contact with you if they have questions or they want to purchase your material, like
Right.
your books or your presentations? And do you have a way for the family to show their support, whether it's a Cash App or whatever the case may be? Do you have any of that type of information so people can show their appreciation?
Okay. Well, like I said, I am the director of the African World Research Institute. We're located at 1719 East 75th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60649. A telephone number that connects all of these. I'm also the CEO of Shakari Publications. That's where all of my books can be purchased. I do have one number that connects all of those together, including the Temple of Ankh. Even though we don't have a physical building for the temple at this point, we are working in earnest to make that happen. Okay. So connecting all of those places together, I have one number. And if you want to order books, if you want to make a contribution through Cash App or Zelle, either one of those mediums, you can call this number, which is my number, The number is 773-437-7170. Again, my number is 773-437-7170. And this is where you can make a connection in terms of any of the books that I might have, any of the tapes, any contributions you want to make to the African World Research Institute, what have you. Any donation you might want to make to the temple becoming a reality. Because we're going to work on this regardless. We're going to do the work, and we're going to open it the same way we open the African World Research Institute. So that is the number, that is the central number that you can call. And we appreciate any and all contributions that are made, and all of the books and everything else goes towards our work. It goes towards us doing the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to quote Baba Michael Imhotep, as he always says, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior, but you can't correct what you haven't researched. So family, on the J&J-Life podcast, we educate, empower, and inspire of African descendants to not only become African-centered, but being African-centered with intention. Did you know? I understand that correcting misbehavior begins with realigning thought. So what you do for yourself, what you allow others to do to you. And what you do to others all reflect what you believe about yourself. But that self-concept is shaped by what you've been taught about yourself. And what you've been taught about yourself is shaped by what you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. And as the wisdom goes, when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you control the circumference of his actions. A mind cannot do or teach what it does not know. And at the Ankh Institute for Ancestral Learning, we restore knowing. So before you disagree, do your homework. Because what I've shared isn't based on opinion. It's based on primary sources, African-centered scholarship, and decades of suppressed truth. We're not here to be provocative. We're here to be precise. And sometimes precision sounds like rebellion when you've been raised on revision.
But if I were to say anything, I would just end it by saying that the African world is certainly in dire straits. We truly are. I never tried to belittle the dire condition that the African world is in, because we are in dire straits. We're literally in a death trap. And I mean globally. I'm not just talking about us here in America. When I speak, I don't speak just for us here in America, what's going on with Black people here. I speak about things that impact us globally. And essentially, the things that impact us here in America are the same things that's impacting African people all over the world, because we have the same enemies, and they're doing the same thing to all of us. So I would say that we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work. And it's programs like this that helps move us in the right direction. It helps groom us and move us and help us gain insight into the things that we need to know and do to solve these problems that we're confronted with. And I always like to end on the note of reminding our people that the problems that we have are clearly solvable. They can be solved, but they will not be solved unless we do the work necessary to solve them. We got to do the work. We have to do the work. It ain't no way to get around it. We're not going to simply talk our way into freedom and independence. Nope. Nope. That ain't going to happen.
One more time. One more time.
We are not under any circumstance going to talk our way into freedom and independence. We have got to gain the knowledge. We have got to internalize the knowledge. And then we have got to unite with each other and act on it. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. And until then, nothing is going to change for us. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Much that you know a little more about Batu Shakari, support Baba on all social media platforms and purchase his books. Don't take our word for none of this information we're about today. Do your research.
One more time.
Do your research.
One more time for the family way in the back.
Do your research.
Okay? Do your research.
Now let's get to work. There you have it, family. Until next time, please absolutely devour the like button and subscribe.
Educate yourself, family.
Habibi Fahoudi, people.
Habibi Fahoudi.
Peace and love is the key. Ra represents the essence of truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, intermanagement, reciprocity, and righteousness.
J&J-Life podcast. The J&J-Life podcast was created to give the family a place and platform to embrace their spiritual awakening and consciousness. J&J-Life art is dedicated to showcasing the beauty of our culture, educating our people and those that want to learn this work.
Smash that like button. Peace and love is the key.